Well, hello, hello, hello. If you are new here, I would like to start tonight's video by saying welcome to our neighborhood. And if you are a returning visitor and hopefully a subscriber, I would like to start by saying, hey neighbor. And tonight's video features what is easily one of the top 3 dishes for your Thanksgiving table. Tonight we will be cooking a wonderful, a cheesy, a delicious and creamy macaroni and cheese. So if you want the best macaroni for Thanksgiving, the macaroni that will have all of your family talking about you and begging you to cook this dish at the next family function, just stay tuned and follow my recipe. Let's hop right into it. I like to begin by bringing a pot of water to a boil. After that comes to a boil, I add salt to it and then I add my pasta. And I like to go ahead and start my pasta so that by the time I'm finished with my cheese sauce, that pasta is almost done and we can go ahead and get it assembled. And keep in mind that you do want to cook this to al dente. And honestly, I go a little bit under al dente. So I'm only going to cook this pasta for about 7 to 8 minutes because you have to put it in the oven to bake it. So you don't want it to get too soft because then it'll get gummy. So while that pasta is coming to a boil, I am going to add a half a stick of unsalted butter to my cast iron skillet. And I like to use my cast iron skillet to make cheese sauce. One, because if cast iron is cured properly, then it will not really stick to the bottom and you can just rinse it right out. But it also keeps a very, very even heat. And so it's very, very good for trying to melt things like cheese, or even when you're trying to make a caramel sauce, it's pretty good for that. So now I'm going to add in about 2 tablespoons of butter here. And the actual measurements would be kind of a 1-to-1. So this is a half a stick of butter. So before I'm done, I'll actually put about 4 tablespoons worth of flour in here because a half a stick of butter is about 4 tablespoons. So I'm just going to keep giving that a stir. And here I am going to let the floury taste kind of begin to cook out of that. You don't want that raw flour taste in your macaroni. And so this is me adding the other about 2 tablespoons of flour there. You're just going to eyeball it a little bit because when you start to melt in your cream product, in this case, I'm going to use heavy cream tonight. So when you start to add that in, then you'll see it begin to thicken up. So you just have to give it a little bit of time and keep working with it. It is going to pay off in some of the best macaroni you have ever tasted. And so now I'm adding in the heavy cream, and I used a 16-ounce container of heavy cream for this. And I'm just going to keep stirring until I get it all worked in here together. And then we are going to start adding our cheeses. Now, if you've seen my original recipe, that recipe used 5 different cheeses. Tonight's recipe, I am going to stick to a more traditional recipe, and I'm only going to be using 2 types of cheeses. I'll be using a sharp cheddar cheese, and I'll be using a mild cheddar cheese. So if you want something a little bit fancier for your table, definitely head on over and check out my original video. But if you want something that is just simply delicious and a little bit simpler to make and also a little bit more economical, then you have come to the right video. And this mac and cheese right here will not disappoint. So I began by adding about a handful of cheese, which is for me about a cup. When I just kind of reach in the bag and grab a handful, it's about a cup of cheese. So I start to work that in. And then here I am still adding in um, more of that heavy cream. So by the time I'm done, I will actually have that whole container of heavy cream in the um, in the mac and cheese. And this is where your time is going to be spent. Make sure you take time on this. Don't try to leave it. And you just keep stirring, you keep working it, and it is going to get creamy for you. The cheese sauce is the base for your mac and cheese. And you don't have to use that Velveeta stuff, okay? Nothing against the people who use Velveeta. I just don't. I'm not a big fan of it. I'm sorry, but you don't have to use that. You can make your own sauce, and it can have all of the flavors and that big taste you want without all of the extra additives. So now the pasta is finished, and I've drained it, and I'm going to sit it to the side, and I'm actually going to mix it up right here in this bowl. So I'm going to pour that cheese sauce into my macaroni here. I did not flavor the cheese sauce while it was in. I didn't add seasonings to the cheese sauce while it was in the cast iron skillet. You can if you would like to, but I'm going to add the cheese sauce after. I'm going to add the seasonings after I've mixed it in with my macaroni. That's just my preference for how I do it. You can do it either way you want. You can go ahead and put your seasonings in the cheese sauce, or you can do it kind of the way I do it. So I'm going to start by adding in a little bit of mild cheddar cheese here. I made the cheese sauce with sharp cheddar, and so I'm adding in some mild cheddar here. Then I'm going to put in a little Slap Your Mama. And Slap Your Mama actually contains salt, pepper, black pepper, garlic powder, and a little onion powder. So keep that in mind. Here I'm adding in more black pepper. Black pepper makes macaroni and cheese delicious, okay? The more black pepper, the better. So I'm adding in a little garlic powder here, and I'm also adding in a little onion powder. Be very careful with this. You want to add enough that you amp up the flavor, but you don't want it to taste like garlic and onion. You know, you want to know that it's there. You want it to whisper to you, not yell at you. That's what I say. You want that flavor to whisper to you, not yell at you. So you saw me in that clip go ahead and taste my mac and cheese. You're going to have to work with it a little bit here to kind of get it perfected. So I went ahead and tasted it just to kind of see where my salt content was, to see how that garlic powder and onion powder were working. Now what you saw me add there was actually regular milk. I had added all 16 ounces of the heavy cream. So this is just a little bit of whole milk to get it a bit more creamy. And you do want your macaroni and cheese to look wet when it goes into your casserole dish, because as it bakes, it's going to dry out. Now, my flavors were good to me, so I'm going to go ahead and add 2 eggs in. I kind of beat those eggs and added them in. Please, 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 please taste your macaroni before you add those eggs, so you can make sure that flavor's right, because whatever it tastes like here is what it's going to taste like when it's done. Now, into a buttered casserole dish, I added my macaroni, and this is the look you want to go for. Macaroni also is not one of those dishes that you want to cook the day before and freeze. No, 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 no. You want this to come pretty much out of the oven and onto your Thanksgiving table. That is the best macaroni. You try to cook this early and then you try to defrost it and then bake it. Your family might not be too happy with you. So here I am going to top it with a little bit more of that sharp cheddar and mild cheddar. And this is how you get that crunchy layer on top. It's this layer of cheese that's going to do that for you. And I'm going to cook this macaroni uncovered. I'm actually not going to cook it. That's another reason why you want it a little moist. You want it a little bit wetter than what would look usual to you, because I cook it uncovered. And here is the final product. And if you look at it, that crunchy brown golden top is what you want. I am going to take my spoon here and just kind of cut it so you can see what I'm working with. And like I told you before, this is super, super easy. It's super, super delicious, and it will be the dish that will have you the talk of the Thanksgiving table. So, as always, thank you so much for sticking with me and subscribing. And y'all, this may be a little bit premature. It is just a little bit premature. But we are almost at 1,000 subscribers. It sounds so crazy saying that. At last count, at the time that this video was recorded here, we were at 951. So I am 49 subscribers away from 1,000, and that is all because of you guys. So as always, thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and most of all, subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye, neighbors.